good morning on this itty bitty fish Wednesday. As you can see, wardrobe always by Nicola. Let's see. Our first question for today is from Vicky. Hello, Vicky. Yeah. Oh, that's a spicy one. Okay. Vicky asks, yeah, is there any evidence that coronavirus impacts eyesight? I won't ask if going for a drive is a good way to test your eyesight. I think we've all worked that one out, but generally interested in the eyesight point. So the story is about, it's called Dominic Cummings, I think. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's written down there. Good. Dominic Cummings, who is an advisor to Boris Johnson over in the UK, was the Prime Minister for people that are not inside the UK. Everybody who's inside the UK already knows all of this stuff. And so he was instrumental in crafting the stay-at-home policy, apparently, which I don't know how much crafting it takes, for those three words, but whatever, yeah. And then realized he might be sick, and then drove halfway across the country, maybe a little more than half, I forget, knowing pretty much that he was most likely sick. In order to, I guess, get childcare is the excuse. But yeah, it's just a goofball doing a goofball thing as far as I can tell. And so, yeah, apparently the latest important reason is because of eyesight. Now, all that aside, that's just that's just a very silly thing that is very embarrassing, I would imagine, or should be anyway, for all the people involved in that. Oh. But as for the bigger point, yeah, can coronavirus impact eyesight? Interesting question. As of yet, there's no information to suggest that eyesight is directly impacted. So what we have are some results that show there may be a little bit of receptor and the activating protein, the protease tempress 2 or cathepsin L, in two parts of the eye, being the conjunctiva and the cornea. And so these are going to be on the outer surface of the eye. And so as far as we know, the cells on the inside of the eye and around the eye and optic nerve cells, stuff like that, I have not seen any evidence that any of those contain the right combination of proteins, because you need those two in order for the virus to get in. So I would think that would be the main determinant of eyesight. Like if something attacked your optic nerve, then yeah, eyesight would be out. And there are viruses that will attack nerves coming from the ear, and they do knock out hearing in one side or the other. So there's precedent for this. This is a thing that can happen. But so far it looks like only the surface of the eye could be infected. Now that could then drain down into the lungs. And I think that's what I was mentioning before. So what you would start out with would be something like conjunctivitis, which I think most people have had to some degree at some point, just a little bit of, redness in the eye or a little red blob off to the side as you're dealing with some kind of infection. And usually that does not impair vision a great deal, although you could imagine that if this went unchecked for a long enough time, eventually, yeah, anything can cause enough damage to where it would potentially affect vision. I don't really see that that's likely here, and the only information that I have seen on actual cases of COVID in the eye are both untested. They're from people who started out with something like, viral pink eye is what it looked like. And then later developed lung infection and then tested positive for COVID. So it is plausible, it is believable that it could infect the eye and then trickle down, with your tears right down your throat and eventually wind up in your lungs and or gut. But it is not exactly confirmed that that is precisely what happened, and all that data is not published as far as I'm aware. I need to try and figure out a way to scan the Chinese journals. It may be there, and I may not be picking it up with my English language Google, although it is pretty good for some of that stuff. So we will see. But I think right now, no, there's not a whole lot of evidence that blurry vision would be one of those things. Now, blurred vision is something that can happen with other neurological symptoms potentially. And there are some of those. There are people that are reporting things like headaches and nausea that are normally associated with some kind of damage or just disruption in the brain. And so there is a possibility, but most of the visual stuff happens right up at the front, and we think most of the damage, if there even is any legitimate damage, is happening toward the brain stem. Um, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that would exactly work, but no, I think in the particular case that you're referencing, it's a lame excuse and an attempt to just sort of talk about something else for a moment because somebody's a little embarrassed that they got caught. Yeah. Oh well. Thanks very much for a thought-provoking question. This has been Ask Dr. Ben.